My name is Karla Stahlman. I am a landscape designer. I live here in Verne, 1635 Fifth. This house is the Glenice Perrin historic number 25 house. This house had been occupied by Glenice Perrin, who was a local school teacher for more than 60 years. It was well loved, but not maintained as she was in her elder years. All the things we love to do, the gardening and the building and that experience, and then also wanting to get into a smaller space. We renovated this house, and it was about a 6-month project to get to the point where we could move in. The garden was barren. There were a few rose bushes, one of which we still have, probably an old Chinese rose bush, a climber that's on the front porch. Then when we tore up the driveway, we had a huge pile of rubble. It was the old Model T type ribbon driveway, but we wanted to recycle all of it and use anything that was here we wanted to keep. And so all of this patio, all of the concrete that you'll see around the garden is either that driveway or the consequence later when we rebuilt the garage. We saved all of the foundation and built walkways out of that. I think of an urban garden as limited space. We don't have acres, we have square footage. So my garden is about 9,000 square foot total. We have an incredibly unusual plot, and it goes from one street, which is Fifth, over to Hawthorne in the back. So in the front, I consider this 1912 house to have kind of a very formal garden, in that this side of the walkway and that side of the walkway, and we do still have our original walkway, is the same. So it's symmetrical. So in that case, I used a little bit of topiary mixed with these wild grasses. So it's my lawn, but I don't really cut it. And it's a Atlas fescue, which that is what is at the water company and suggested in one of our drought-tolerant planting ways. I've got a melaleuca, little group of melaleuca trees, and then as you come up my driveway, at this driveway is a little bit more of an Asian-inspired planting with some Japanese maples, which work perfectly with a craftsman home. I've planted just a variety of colors. I have hydrangea out there, which is a more natural-looking hydrangea and has an incredible bloom. As you come into the back, we've put rosemary and compact myrtle hedges to go around this raised patio that's all of our recycled driveway, making kind of this gathering space, fire pit. And then in the back, again, we've stayed with a formal circular seat wall with columns and little urns, and everything is sort of formal that way with a pond in the center. And one of my favorite things is a faux bois table that was made by a guy named Terrence Egan, who, back to the Huntington, he has worked for about the last 10 years restoring all of their faux bois, which means just fake wood, concrete railings that lead from the rose garden into the Japanese garden. So I contacted him and said, could you make me a little bistro table? And so he made me one that looked like sycamore wood, and it's super cool. The main thing is, if we want to get historical, it would be something that would have been done in 1912 or in this era. They really loved fake wood, and it all goes back to my childhood, which was, my inspirations are my great-grandmother and my grandmother on either side of my mom and dad. One lived across the street, and she had a pond with a faux bois, looked like wood edging, and some goldfish and lily pads. And so I just remember that as a kid, it was magical. You know, I didn't know that it was probably 18 inches deep. It went on forever. And those are the things that stay with you. And for my other grandmother, it really is the vegetable garden. And I'm sure that just came out of need from the Depression. These are victory gardens, especially in the COVID times. People were going back to this earth and growing the whole edibles, which you can plant anywhere. You don't have to stick it into a raised bed or into one garden. I put plants like that all around. In the very rear of our property, and most people have about a 7-foot median spot that we're required to take care of, and the city doesn't seem to care. So I planted orchard trees. My very favorite trees are Anna apple, because it's a semi-dwarf variety and it's also semi-deciduous. Deciduous meaning that it's going to lose its leaves in the winter. So it never really ever loses everything, and then it will start to set fruit pretty early on again. It's got a low chill requirement. So for here in California, we don't get the very, very cold days, and especially the cold nights. And so I've taken this space in the very back of the property that faces Hawthorne, and I've planted sunflowers right now, and then a really cool plant called Verbena bonarensis lollipop, which is a cool, just super tall verbena, and it's almost 4 feet tall, and it's really fun, and it is a self-sower, so it will just keep growing. I work as a landscape designer here in Laverne, Claremont primarily. Not every property has space for a vegetable garden, so I've taken advantage of every little square inch. As a landscape designer, I'm plotting everything, I'm measuring everything, but as a homeowner, you can do that too. Just take a grid piece of paper and start with your measuring tape and figure out your plot lines and where your house sits. And then everything else around it is garden. Another design way with landscape is choosing the style of the home and the interiors and the way you live and what your personal style is, and making your garden fit that picture, which is why I have some really quirky, probably old signs or art or you know, these kinds of things into the landscape. And then you're figuring out, you know, where is the sun, where's the morning sun, where's the hottest sun. So 95% of your success with plants is going to be putting the right plant in the right place. So, you know, the garden's a great teacher. That's the formula for success in the garden, really, besides the brown thumb, not the green thumb. It's how much work you put into it. And as the garden goes on, it gets easier and easier because the work you've done is already there, and so you sort of build on it. So I love my job. I love helping people figure out what they want to do in their yards and really making the outdoor an extension of your own home and a place where you can gather and have family and friends, and it's just something I think that really feeds people's spirit, and it gives back to you. And the garden evolves and changes, but it's a great job. It's just a great job, and I love doing it.